Part 1, The Knock at Midnight Extended Version. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes every little sound feel louder. Sarah lay in her bed, her eyes open, staring at the faint outline of the ceiling fan above her. She hadn't been able to sleep properly in months. Her mind was always racing about the bills, about her work, about Ethan's future. The night stretched long, and the silence of the empty house only made her feel more alone. Then, suddenly, the doorknob turned. It was a soft sound, but in the stillness of midnight it felt sharp. Her heart gave a quick jump. She turned her head just as the door slowly pushed open. A thin line of golden hallway light spilled into her room, cutting through the darkness. It was Ethan. He stood in the doorway, his figure tall but hesitant, his hands still holding the knob as if unsure if he should step further inside. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Mom, are you awake?" Sarah quickly sat up, pulling the blanket around her. A rush of concern filled her chest. "Yes, Ethan? What is it? Did something happen?" Ethan shook his head lightly. His eyes didn't look panicked, but there was something in them, something heavy. "No, he paused, searching for words. "I couldn't sleep." Sarah relaxed a little, though her heart was still unsettled. Ethan was 22 now, a man in many ways. But in moments like this, she still saw the boy she had raised alone. She patted the side of the bed. "Come in, sweetheart," stepped inside slowly, closing the door behind him. The click of the latch sounded louder than it should have, and Sarah felt the weight of the moment press into the room. Ethan crossed to her bed and sat down on the edge. His posture was tense, his shoulders drawn in. Sarah studied him in the dim light. His jaw was set, but his eyes carried a softness that made her chest ache. She reached out instinctively, brushing her hand over his arm. "Tell me what's on your mind." For a long moment, he didn't answer. He looked down at his hands, twisting his fingers together. Then he took a slow breath. I didn't want to be alone tonight." The words struck her deeper than she expected. He had grown up so fast, had faced the disappointment of a father who walked away, had carried more than a young man should. But still, inside, there was that quiet boy who needed comfort. Sarah's heart tightened. She wanted to speak, to reassure him, but the weight of emotion held her tongue. Instead, she shifted closer and laid a hand gently on his shoulder. He didn't move away. The silence stretched. Not empty, but full of unsaid feelings. Sarah could feel the beat of her heart, could hear the faint tick of the old clock in the hallway. She realized this was not just about sleeplessness. Something was stirring inside him, and perhaps inside her too. Ethan finally looked up, his eyes catching hers. There was no fear there, but something searching, something she couldn't quite name. In that gaze, Sarah felt a strange pull, part motherly protectiveness, part something more complicated that she didn't want to admit. She cleared her throat softly. "It's late, Ethan. You should be resting." He gave a small smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I just wanted to sit with you for a while." Sarah nodded, though a storm of thoughts swirled in her mind. She moved back against the pillows and allowed him to stay. He leaned slightly closer, enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. The closeness was unexpected, yet it didn't feel wrong. She wondered what this night would mean, what path it was quietly opening before them. The house was silent, the world outside still, as if everything had paused just to watch this moment unfold. And as Sarah sat there beside her son in the glow of the dim light, she knew this was not going to be just another night. Something had shifted, and nothing would be the same again. Part 2, Old Wounds. New feelings, extended version. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, his shoulders tense, his hands gripping each other as if he was holding something inside that might break if he let it go. Sarah waited, her eyes on him, her heart beating with a strange mixture of worry and tenderness. She knew her son well when he stayed quiet like this. Something was weighing heavy on his mind. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice low. "I've been thinking a lot, Mom, about everything, about the past." Sarah's stomach tightened. She knew where this was going. "You don't need to," she said softly. "The past is behind us. Okay, But Ethan shook his head. Not for me. I can't just forget it. Dad walking out. It still sits in my chest. I don't say it much, but it's always there. Sarah felt her throat close. She reached out and touched his arm, the way she used to when he was a boy afraid of thunderstorms. I know it hurt you. It hurt me too. But you're stronger than you think, Ethan. You've grown into a man despite everything. Ethan's eyes glistened in the dim light. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. You don't understand. You carried so much on your own. You worked 2 jobs you never gave up. You kept us going when everything fell apart. And I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you kept smiling for me when I know you were breaking inside. Sarah's lips trembled. She had tried so hard to hide her pain back then, every late bill. Every lonely night, every time she cried in secret so he wouldn't see. Hearing him say it now made it clear he had noticed more than she realized. I did it because of you, she whispered. You were my reason to keep going. Ethan finally looked at her, his eyes deep with something she couldn't place. And I don't think I've ever said thank you the way I should have. You gave up so much of yourself for me. And I hate that sometimes I feel like you were left with nothing. Sarah's chest tightened with emotion. I wasn't left with nothing, Ethan. I have you. That's everything. The words seemed to hit him hard. He stared at her, and for a moment neither of them moved. The silence was thick, but it wasn't empty. It was filled with memories, with the ache of years gone by. With all the unspoken feelings they had carried alone, Ethan shifted closer, his voice quieter now. But don't you ever feel lonely? Sarah's breath caught. She hadn't expected him to ask that. Sometimes, she admitted, her voice barely audible. Yes, it's not easy, Ethan. Nights are long. Days are longer. But I manage, he nodded, his jaw tightening. I don't want you to just manage. You deserve more than that. Her heart pounded as she looked at him. The boy she had raised was no longer just a boy. He spoke with a man's voice now, carried a man's burdens, and there was something in his tone that unsettled her. It wasn't just gratitude. It was deeper, heavier. Sarah tried to steer the moment back. You'll have your own life soon, Ethan. You'll finish school, build a career, find someone who makes you happy. That's how it should be. But Ethan didn't look away. His gaze held hers, steady and piercing. And what about you? Who's going to make you happy, Mom? The question broke something inside her. She wanted to answer quickly, to brush it off, but she couldn't. She thought of all the years she had put her own heart away, choosing responsibility over desire, safety over companionship. She thought of how long it had been since anyone looked at her with care, with love. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She didn't know what to say. Ethan leaned back slightly, though his eyes never left her. You act like you don't need anything. But I see you. I see how tired you are, how much you've given up. And I don't want you to feel like no one notices. Sarah's eyes burned with tears. She tried to hold back. Ethan, she whispered, you don't have to carry my pain. I want to, he said quickly, his voice full of conviction. Because you carried mine for years. I want you to know you're not alone. Not anymore. Her chest swelled with emotions so sharp it almost hurt. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the raw honesty in his words. It wasn't the voice of a child seeking comfort. It was the voice of a man reaching for connection. For something beyond the ordinary. Sarah pulled in a deep breath, trying to steady herself. She reminded herself that she was his mother, that their bond was built on years of love, sacrifice, and devotion. But at the same time, she couldn't ignore the storm rising between them, the unspoken feelings growing stronger with every word he spoke. Her heart trembled as she realized. The night was not just about old wounds anymore. It was about something new, something fragile, something dangerous, but undeniably real. And as she sat there, her hand still resting on his arm, Sarah felt the air change. Their past was written in pain and survival, but the future? That was a mystery waiting in the quiet space between them. Part 3, the confession extended version. The room was quiet, heavy with unspoken words. Sarah sat still, her hand resting on the blanket, her breath uneven. Ethan was beside her, his face partly in shadow, its expression unreadable but full of something that pressed against her heart. She tried to look away, but his eyes pulled her back. He broke the silence first, his voice low but steady. "Mom, I don't think you see yourself the way I do." Sarah blinked, unsure of what he meant. "What are you talking about?" she asked softly. Ethan leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his fingers running nervously together. "You look at yourself and think you're tired, that life has already taken too much from you. But that's not what I see. I see someone strong, someone who's been through everything and is still standing. And you're beautiful, Mom, more than you realize." Her heart stopped for a moment. Beautiful. It wasn't a word she had heard in years. Not since before the divorce. Not since before her world had been broken in half. She tried to laugh it off, but her voice trembled. "Ethan, don't say things like that." "Kate, I mean it," he replied quickly, his tone firm. He finally looked up, meeting her eyes. His gaze was intense, unwavering. "You deserve to be loved. You deserve to feel wanted, not forgotten." Sarah's throat tightened. She wanted to protest, to remind him that she was his mother, that there were lines they could never cross. But the words refused to come. Instead, tears welled in her eyes, spilling before she could stop them. She turned her face away, wiping her cheek. "You don't understand what you're saying," she whispered. "I do," he said, his voice breaking now. "I've thought about it for a long time. I see you carry everything alone. I see how you push your own needs aside. And I hate it, Mom. I hate that you think you don't deserve more." No. Her body trembled. She didn't want to hear this. Yet she couldn't stop herself from listening. There was something raw in his voice. Something that stripped away the years of walls she had built around her heart. "Ethan." She whispered again, her voice shaky. "You can't." Before she could finish, his hand brushed lightly against hers. It wasn't forceful, not demanding, just a soft touch. A question, a plea. His fingers lingered there, trembling, as if waiting for her to pull away. But she de-eyed in single quotes, teethed into her skin. And for a brief second she let herself feel it. That closeness, that tenderness, that quiet reminder that she was still alive, still seen, still wanted. Her heart beat faster, pounding against her ribs, torn between fear and longing. She finally found her voice. "This isn't right," she said, but her tone was weak, almost uncertain. Ethan shook his head slowly. "I don't care what's right or wrong. All I care about is you. I just want you to know you're not invisible to me. You're everything." Her breath caught. His words sliced through every layer of doubt she had carried for years. No man had said anything like that to her in so long. No one had looked at her this way, with devotion, with need, with something that felt like love. She pressed a hand against her chest as if to steady her racing heart. "Ethan, you're my son," she said, her voice breaking, her tears falling freely now. "I know," he whispered, "and I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to ruin us. But I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I had to tell you. Even if nothing changes, I needed you to know what you mean to me." Sarah closed her eyes, letting the weight of his words settle deep inside her. The air felt thick, heavy, alive with tension she didn't know how to name. She knew this moment would stay with her forever, no matter how the night ended. When she opened her eyes again, she saw him watching her, his face full of vulnerability, his hands still barely touching hers. It wasn't a demand. It wasn't pressure. It was love, fragile and uncertain, waiting for her to acknowledge it. Her heart ached. She wanted to tell him to forget it, to go back to bed, to pretend this conversation never happened. But another part of her, the part that had been starved of affection for so long, couldn't deny how much his words had reached her. She whispered, almost too softly to hear. "You shouldn't love me like this." Ethan leaned closer, his eyes shining. "I can't help it. You're everything to me. You always have been." The room fell silent again, the weight of his confession pressing down on them both. Sarah's tears slid down her cheeks, and Ethan reached out gently to wipe one away. His touch was soft, careful, reverent. It broke something inside her. The loneliness, the emptiness, the years of pretending she didn't need more. But along with it came fear. Fear of what this meant. Fear of what they were stepping into. Fear of the consequences if they let themselves go further. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "You don't know what you're asking of me." "I'm not asking for anything," Ethan said quietly. "I just want you to know how I feel. That's all." I couldn't keep it hidden anymore. His words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Sarah sat frozen, her hands still in his, her heart torn between the comfort of his closeness and the danger of the emotions they were both battling. The night had brought them to a place they could never have imagined. A place where love and longing blurred into something too complicated to name. And as Sarah looked into Ethan's eyes, she realized the storm between them had only just begun. Part 4. A Night of Choices extended version. The room was filled with silence, the kind of silence that felt alive. Sarah sat frozen, her hands still in Ethan's, her mind racing faster than her heart. His confession still echoed inside her head, each word pressing against her chest. She wanted to speak, to pull away, to stop the storm that was building, but something in her couldn't. Ethan's eyes never left hers. They were steady, filled with a quiet strength, but also with pain, like he had opened a part of himself he had hidden for years. Sarah swallowed hard, her throat dry. She finally whispered, "Ethan, we can't go down this path. It will only hurt us." He nodded slowly, but his grip on her hand didn't loosen. "I know, Mom. I know it's complicated. I'm not asking for anything. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I had to let you know what you mean to me." His words shook her. She had expected anger, or denial, or even tears. But what she saw instead was calm honesty. He wasn't a boy asking for comfort. He was a man standing in front of her with his heart exposed. And that terrified her more than anything. Sarah turned her face away, staring at the window where the moonlight filtered through the curtains. The world outside was quiet, unaware of the storm in her room. She closed her eyes for a moment, searching for strength. "You don't understand what this could do," she whispered. "If anyone knew. If this changed us." Ethan leaned closer, his voice firm but gentle. "It doesn't have to change us. Nothing has to happen. I just needed you to hear the truth from me. I couldn't keep pretending anymore." His honesty cut through her defenses. For years she had longed to be seen, to be loved, not for what she could give, but for who she was. And here was Ethan, her son, speaking to her like she was the only person who mattered in his world. The weight of that truth was both beautiful and unbearable. Tears slid down her cheeks. She didn't even try to wipe them away. "You mean more to me than you'll ever understand," she said, her voice breaking. "But love like this, it can't be spoken aloud. It has to stay locked away." Ethan reached up gently, brushing away her tears with his thumb. His touch was soft, careful, as though he was afraid of breaking her. "I don't want to hurt you, Mom. I never would. If silence is what you need, then I'll carry it in silence. But please don't think you're alone anymore. You'll never be alone as long as I'm here." Her chest ached at his words. She wanted to tell him he was wrong, that he shouldn't feel this way, that she couldn't let herself feel the pull of it too. But her heart betrayed her. For the first time in years, she felt warmth, connection, a reminder that she was still alive. And it scared her. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. The closeness between them was almost too much. Sarah pulled in a shaky breath and leaned back slightly, needing space, needing clarity. "Ethan, promise me something," she said. "Anything." He whispered, "Promise me that no matter what, you'll keep building your own life. Don't let this night hold you back. Don't let it become your burden." He nodded, though his eyes still held that same unwavering devotion. "I promise. But this night, I'll never forget it. Because it's the first time I've told you the truth." Her heart twisted. She wanted to forget, to push it into the shadows of memory, but she knew she never would. The truth had been spoken, and it could never be taken back. For a long while, they sat in silence. Ethan's hand was still around hers, steady and warm. Sarah leaned her head gently against his shoulder, allowing herself that small comfort. It wasn't a choice of passion, but of love, complicated, dangerous, but undeniably real. The clock ticked in the hallway. The world outside slowly shifted toward dawn. Sarah could see the faint gray light beginning to push at the edges of the night. Time was moving again, reminding her that this moment would pass. Whether she was ready or not, finally, she whispered, "We'll carry this quietly, Ethan. No one needs to know. This night stays between us." Ethan nodded. "I understand." And with that, the weight in the room settled. Not gone, but transformed. The fire between them didn't disappear, burned quietly, tucked away, a secret that would live in their hearts. As the first rays of sunlight touched the curtains, Sarah lifted her head from his shoulder. She looked at him one last time, her eyes filled with love and sorrow all at once. "Go get some rest," she said softly. "Tomorrow will come, and we have to keep moving forward." Ethan hesitated, then leaned down and kissed her forehead, tender and reverent. "Good night, Mom," he whispered. When he finally left the room, Sarah sat alone, her heart still racing, her tears still wet on her face. She looked out at the faint light of morning and knew this night would live in her forever. Not as a mistake, not as regret, but as a reminder of the delicate, dangerous line between love and longing. And as the sun rose higher, Sarah whispered to herself, "Some nights aren't meant to be forgotten. They're meant to be carried quietly, like a heartbeat."